do you believe now that the judges' appointments that were stalled might also now suddenly move faster?
Well, taking the second question first, if the government wants judges to be appointed, the files will move fast. If the judge doesn't, if they don't want a certain judge to be appointed, they will continue to sit on the files. No change in that game. Taking Mr. Azad's point on IB reports, just let me tell you a particular incident. Chief Justice B.N. Kirpal mentioned it from the bench. That's about 20 years ago. There was a certain lawyer whose name went up. He was a teetotaler, and his friends all enjoyed their drink. So the friends called him Boozer. When the IB report about the man came, it said that he's an alcoholic. The Chief Justice of that day knew what the truth was, but he couldn't hold up the other appointments. Yeah. That man didn't make it, and at that particular point of time, later on he was made a judge.
Yeah.
So with regard to Saurav Kirpal, all that the collegium did was, what are you telling us that we don't know? When we made the recommendation, we knew his sexual orientation. He had been open about it. We knew about his partner. Despite that, we think that has nothing to do with his judicial functioning. He will make a very fine judge. And let me add my little voice to the collegium. I also believe the same thing. Now, what is it that the collegium resolution reveals? That the IB report is dated X or dated Y. With regard to these two IB reports, we say that you have said and told us nothing that we don't know.
Yeah.
That's all.
So
they don't go into the sources of the IB or anything of that kind. So I don't see what was so confidential about it.
Okay, so my question to you, therefore, Loknath, is that what is the big deal if these IB reports were put in public? And I think the more relevant question is, are we going to see a better functioning? You see, the collegium, the government can only send the file back once. But if the government doesn't move on the file, what is the collegium expected to do? And that has been the judiciary's complaint.
No, I'll tell you that, I'll answer both these questions on a basis of principle and policy. See, one aspect is whether, regarding the veracity of these intelligence bureau reports, RNAW reports, that's something else, whether these IB reports reflect the reality, whether they are true, correct. But the policy is whether to disclose them in public or not. The policy is whether to put it out in your decision making or not. The policy is whether we should put it in writing in our, as far the earlier stand was they would say that we've perused the reports. So therefore, the people at times they are, privy to very confidential information, which maybe a handful of people would know. So therefore, these agents of the intelligence bureau, these people who give information, they stand exposed. And in the larger scheme of things, it leads to a lot of problems at many other places. So that's the policy, not on the veracity aspect. Of course,
right.
As a policy, one has to understand. So this is one. The second is, again, the government sitting on files or not sitting on files, the government sending its recommendations and everything. So as far as that is concerned, it's not the law minister alone, possibly who will be, taking all these decisions in that manner. What is more important is the policy of the collegium, whether it should be the judges appointing judges, whether, there are pros and cons to it. Pre-91, we had seen the government appointing judges also. There were a few hiccups there. Apart from that, the system was running. So whether as a policy, we can have judges appointing judges, whether as a policy, we can really allow and turn a blind eye to the judiciary taking its decisions on its own behalf.
And that is a legitimate debate. But, Mr. Bhattacharya, before I give Dilip Cherian the last word, the government raised a lot of noise around it through Kiren Rijiju primarily. The vice president made statements on the basic structure of the constitution, but it's not like they moved the legislation. They could have. It's been done before. It had massive political unanimity then. I don't think in today's environment it would. But they didn't do that. And now they seem to be in some sort of retreat. Do you see this as some sort of retreat mode from the government?
Yes, but Haji, the retreat is very clear. The entire law ministry has been washed out and new incumbent is coming. So therefore, clearly the political leadership was not happy with the manner in which law ministry was functioning in the recent past. About the Intelligence Bureau report, may I just say what Supreme Court has done, selectively giving it to the press, is absolutely correct, because in one case, the adverse report was that a candidate was basically going to be rejected solely because he worked in the chambers of his senior some 10 years back, and that his senior wrote an article criticizing the establishment. Now, if this kind of, reports are given to stall a candidate,
I think, Mr. Can I allow Mr. Azad to briefly interject and then let you complete your point, because I'm seeing him react quite agitatedly. Yasho, go ahead.
No, very, very respectfully, I want to tell my friend Mr. Hegde and Bhattacharya Saab that, IB is not taking, whenever you have a very sensitive appointment, you'd like to know everything about his background, about what is happening.
But is someone sensitive because they're gay? It's not, what is sensitive?
No, so that's exactly what, no. But
Saurabh Kirpal said the foreign minister is married. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you, but Saurabh Kirpal said the foreign minister of India, who's really an admirable patriot, who represents India so effectively on the global stage, also is a foreign partner, right? Why does it become sensitive? Because Saurabh Kirpal is married, or not married, is with a foreign citizen. Sorry, Mr. Azad.
One of the greatest judges of India, Justice Bose.
Okay, you're both speaking together. 1 minute. Mr. Bhattacharya, 1 minute.
Even the IB officials themselves do not think that Mr. Kirpal should not be appointed. They are just giving and illustrating the fact and the background to you. Most of the intelligence we have, a part of the intelligence is secretly gathered. The other part of the intelligence is open intelligence. So basically what you're getting is a total, absolute inclusive information from all fronts, and you make a decision. Don't hit the IB saying the IB is giving it. IB is giving you the background.
Okay, let me allow Mr. Bhattacharya to complete his point, and Dilip has the last word. We do have to close. Mr. Bhattacharya, please.
In India, one of the greatest judges ever is known as Justice Vivian Bose. He had a foreign wife, and no one questions that.
But I think the point Mr. Azad is making is an IB report is a work in progress at all times. They may just gather a prima facie set of information, don't make it public. But we've gone somewhere else with this debate. Just coming back on what you see happening ahead now, Mr. Bhattacharya, briefly, and then we have to close. Dilip will close it for us. Mr. Bhattacharya, sorry, Sanjay, are you raising your hand to say something, Sanjay? You are? Okay. Can we unmute Sanjay? Please? Yeah, Sanjay, go ahead.
No, what I was saying was that in the UPA government, the second UPA government, you lost 3 solicitors general. In the second NDA government, you see 3 law ministers going. I think there are parallels there.
Okay, that's an interesting detail. Mr. Bhattacharya, you want to conclude your thoughts, sir? Sorry, we've interrupted you twice. Yes.
No, sorry. No, I think what Mr. Azad, the distinguished IPS officer, he has said, broadly, conceptually, he is right. But Supreme Court Collegium, by making exceptions to reveal sometimes some frivolous reports can be given to stall, that will keep IB under check. I think some checks and balance, IB should also have a sense of some responsibility and some fear in mind that frivolous report should not be written to stall an appointment.
Okay, a separate show is called for on the IB and these IB reports. Dilip, the last word. Sorry, Loknath, I must allow you a quick comment as well, and then Dilip. Loknath, yeah.
No. Perhaps that's not the job of the judiciary. The job of the judiciary is to just sift through them, not to keep the IB under check. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Dilip, close this for us.
The lasting metaphor of this is poor Kiren Rijiju not being enough to being not quantifiably enough to sit on files. I think that is the message that comes through. But I think that what we need to remember is that this is a time of shift. All kinds of things are about to happen. We are not going to see the last of this or hear the last of this. And I certainly think that more light needs to be shown on why this happened. Without going into the nature and merits of an IB report, I think selective disclosures of contents rather than process of gathering will only enhance the system.